All right, it's week 7, the final week for the Platinum League. I am Traxon. Joining me this evening is Mr. Lean and Fury. How are we all doing tonight?
Doing awesome.
I'm feeling like I'm built different.
You definitely. I was gonna actually insult you, but we're gonna go next.
Wow.
Let's talk about.
You know what?
Just
You know
seriously,
what?
I was gonna insult you.
I was gonna dish out some flame there, but I'm not gonna do it. It's a nice day today. We're gonna talk about the
Damn.
Platinum League. All right. Well, let's get right into it. So, right off the bat, we're gonna talk about Infernal, and we've seen some interesting things throughout past couple weeks with Diamond, Platinum, and Gold with the standings. It's been kind of crazy, but sitting atop the standings, still in first place, it is the Undying Tyrants. Sitting with a
Wow,
5
a
and 1
whole,
series
whole
score,
lot of
11 and 6
variation going
game
on.
score. Nope, not a lot of variation at the top. Everyone has decided that Undying Tyrants are the team to beat in Infernal. With that, though, I'm gonna let this one go over to Fury. What are your takes on this
I mean,
team?
they've just been really good all season. Like you brought up, they are 5-1 with 11-6 record, higher, not but like not even really close. UCF would have to 2-0 in order to even be at the games that they're sitting at, 2 full points down. So Tyrants, I think, are going to stay at the top even after tonight.
Okay, fair enough. Mr. Lee, anything you'd like to add? What are your thoughts kind of on this team heading into playoffs?
I mean, nothing particularly. That they're honestly kind of running super hard, especially given that, like with how what feels like top heavy Hex Tech is. I don't know. I think Undying is probably a pretty decent finals pick. Out of Infernal, I would argue it's between them and Lancers Esports.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. And then obviously the next team that we're going to talk about is second on the standings. Coming in, it is Lancer Esports 4-2 with a 9-5 game score with 28 points. There's a potential chance that we see these two teams swap as they do play each other in the matchup later tonight. But right now, pretty much everyone has slotted them into second place. Fury, how you liking this team right now?
Lancers, I think they started the season off very, very good, and then started kind of falling off on the back half of it. And I think it might have even been kind of expected. I think a lot of people pointed out that their first half was maybe a little bit easier than others, and this is just kind of them starting to fall back after having a little bit of an easy run at the beginning.
Yep, fair enough. And Lean, what are taking the
Yeah,
Lancers here heading into week 7 and playoffs next week?
yeah, I kind of agree with that. And an easy for schedule, especially in a smaller league like this, will do wonders for your ability to get in the playoffs. And so them coasting in at that number 2 seed is going to is going to make them make things a little bit easier for them. I'm thinking they probably pull in a 2-1, still finish out the second seed, but given the way things are going, it's not really a complaint from them. Happy to finish in that spot.
Yeah, fair enough. Up next, third on the board, coming in at 3-3, and there are three teams tied for 3-3, though they are not tied in the standings. This could get messy in the back half, as this is the last week here. But TA Spectre coming in 3-3, 8-7 game score, 25 points, and everyone has as well slotted them into third place. So first, second, and third pretty much wrapped up. It feels like in this power rankings, at least for this group, and then after that, it's kind of a mess. So,
Yeah.
Mr. Lean, what are your thoughts on TA Spectre here?
I like TA Spectre as kind of like a little bit of a sleeper, a bit of an underdog in this division. Even though going through playoffs and finally getting to finals through after playing through Infernal is probably an uphill battle for them. Depending if Lancers or Tyrants just have an off night,
Mm-hmm.
I definitely think you could expect Spectre to at least make it to the semifinals of this particular conference, if not making it fully into the finals, if that makes sense,
Mm-hmm.
for the entire league. I don't know. You could have a lot of fun with them if the circumstances are right.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough. Yuri, what are your takes on TA Spectre heading into playoffs? What do you think they kind of stack up against these other teams, and where do you feel that they potentially end up with seeding here?
So I do kind of agree with Lean on that, in that I see really the whole thing going to either Tyrants or Lancers. Um, but I do believe TA are at least going to make it to the semifinals. It's possible that they pop off and they go into the full thing, but I don't see them winning the overall.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Up next, then, it is Titan Gaming Obsidian. And we see them a little bit all over the place. A couple in last place. One in fourth. So, Mr. Lean, seeing as you rank them the highest in all the power rankings, kind of break down as to why you put them so high.
I feel like Titan's a little bit more resilient than some of the other teams here. It looks like they have a little bit of a different game record, but I don't know if that's because of FFs of a team leaving or something to that case, because they're 8-8 and then Blue Fire Esports is 6-8, but with
Mm-hmm.
a similar series record, so I'm not sure exactly how that's gone. They could have possibly just also gone to game threes a bunch. But even then, in a league like this, the more games your teams gets and the more repetition you get with them in those high stakes circumstances like an actual game, I believe the more that they'll respond, especially when the stakes are highest. So for this team, they're number 4 for me. I think they're going to come out of the 4th seed, but I honestly think that they'll probably get kicked out in the first round. I don't foresee them going much further than the first round of playoffs.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Up next, then, it is Blue Esports Fire. Fury, you have them in second to last. So go ahead and break me down as to why you have this team so low in your rankings.
So genuinely, there's not a whole lot of rhyme or reason why I put anybody after Tyrants and Lancers where they are. It
Okay.
is basically a 6-man free for all after the top two, because what, it's a 3-way tie for third, and then it's a 3-way tie for eighth.
Mm-hmm.
So there's really nothing to go off of. I don't really think I've seen a huge exponential amount of growth from
Correct me
any
if
of these
I'm
teams.
wrong,
But
but
yeah,
all these teams, I believe, can still make playoffs.
they can. They
Playoffs is
100%
top
can.
five,
100%.
so
Nobody's
everyone
out.
has the opportunity here to still make
Yeah.
playoffs. You just have to
Tonight is a coin
really,
flip.
yeah. Tonight's gonna be crazy for Infernal League for sure.
Yeah. It's just gonna be nuts. So, like Tyrants, Lancers, congrats. And then TA Spectre and below, you're basically they might as well be reset to 0-0
Mm-hmm.
and not played any games and just be like, hey, this game is gonna decide whether or not you go into the playoffs in our league. But so Blue
That's
Esports,
crazy.
the reason that they're so far down, really no reason to it other than I see them as just about equal to everybody else up to TA.
Okay, fair enough. And normally would say, fifth place seed up against the eighth place seed. There's a pretty decent shot that Blue Esports Fire can 2-0 and potentially make it a playoffs. But
Mm-hmm.
when you look at the fourth to eighth seed, there's only one series separates all of these teams right now. So
Exactly.
very close playoff race in Infernal tonight.
Yeah, and to kind of build off of what Fury said as well, like this is like the ideal circumstance you want for a team that's really struggled out to, honestly, for everyone in 6th to 8th place the majority of the season. To really get that reset and then have an opportunity to get hot and then make a push for playoffs, that's about as much as you can ask for.
Yeah, and you know what's even crazier? All of
Hit
these
me.
teams play each other. Right? So
Oh, Christ. Okay.
all these teams, so like we might be looking at teams individually knocking each other out of playoffs tonight. We're gonna go over the actual schedule in a minute here, but yeah, it's Undying Tyrants against Lancer Esports tonight. So those two teams play each other, and then the rest of the bracket gets to knock each other out of playoff contention tonight. So it's gonna be a very interesting evening Up next, though, it is ISU Genie Emerald coming at 2-4, 6-8, 22 points, sitting in 6th place. I believe they are pretty much 50-50 here. They have a chance at a tiebreaker as well. So it's not over for them.
Yeah.
But what are our thoughts? Do we feel that they make it into playoffs? Looking at both of your predictions for power rankings, Fury, you have them in 4th place, while Lean, you have them outside of playoffs. So, Fury, go ahead and tell me why you feel that this team in the end of the season is able to playoffs.
So I don't want to go too far into anything. Like we'll see it when we get to the predictions after power rankings, on why I kind of did a couple of these. But I do think ISU had a pretty good start to their season. Fell off a little bit, but they went against some pretty strong teams, and now I think this is their time to really pull themselves back up and into it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Up next, we're going to talk about Cloud Team. Mr. Lean, you have them in second to last place in 7th, where they kind of are sitting in the standings, down by 3 points from 4th place, 4 from 3rd. My apologies. What are your thoughts on Cloud Team? Do they make playoffs, or are they going to come up short in Week 7?
I mean, being honest, like, if you flip the standings around, Cloud Team's in second place. They can pull a TSM. No, I'm kidding. But being honest, no. From what I've looked at from Cloud Team specifically, and I don't like to outright disparage players or anything in this case, but it doesn't seem like they're able to play very cohesively. They get out macroed a lot. Laning seems like it's a little bit of an issue as well for them. As much as I would love to have a team make a Cinderella story and actually make a push in the playoffs, I don't think they're it.
Okay. Fair enough. And last but not least, it is Collective Sigma sitting in 8th place, only down 5 points. 1 game separates themselves and playoffs. We'll talk about their game matchup in just a little bit tonight. But Fury, you have them in playoffs here. So walk me through your thoughts on that.
I want some of whatever he's smoking. Good Lord.
This is what I mean. You see, here's what's going to happen. Say as much as you can, because I swear tomorrow, when all this comes out and everybody starts clipping it and be like, oh, look what they said about Fury's picks again, then I get to laugh at you. Because yesterday they said I was crazy. They said I was a madman. I don't know, honestly. I like rooting for the underdog a lot. I think it's fun. But again, they're not even really the underdog. They're tied in a 3-way tie. So I don't think it's that much of a hot take, really. I don't think it's crazy enough to be a hot take.
All right, yeah.
No, but I'm gonna put a mystery skin on the line. If Collective Sigma makes playoffs, I'll give you a mystery skin.
That works for me. I'll give you one too. Yep, that works.
All right, fair enough.
Flip it.
Let's talk about the next division. It's time to talk about Hex Tech. And this is where it gets interesting. CB Rush, pretty dominant so far within Blue Otter League previous seasons. Back-to-back titles, looking for a potential 3-peat. I believe that would be the first team to do that. 5-1 at the moment, 1 point above CB Ruby in the standings. But this is the first time that we've seen CB Rush and CB Ruby flip in the standings. For the most part, we've seen Ruby second or third, but it's almost 50-50 Rush and Ruby up at the top. So as someone who has put Rush in first place, Fury, kind of make your case as to why you have selected them to go there.
Rush, I just think they've been around longer, technically. As a full team, I think they've got maybe just a little bit more, what's the word? Camaraderie, I guess.
Okay.
I just think maybe that will help them just stay above Ruby. I think it's still going to be Rush and Ruby in the end, honestly.
All right. Fair enough. Mr. Lean, though, you put CB Ruby atop CB Rush. So obviously both teams 5-1. 1 game in all of these series separates these two teams right now. So walk me through as to why you have put Ruby over Rush in the standings.
It's a little hard for me to explain it, and I'm drawing a lot of it, admittedly, from Ruby's performance in the midseason tournament because that really allowed us to get a peek into a lot of matchups that we really necessarily wouldn't see until playoffs. Um, and Rush versus Ruby was a very big one of that. And correct me if I'm wrong, Ruby won that. It was best of one, which I will say,
Mhm.
but Ruby did beat Rush in that in the midseason tournament. Am I correct?
You're right. You're right.
So granted, it's a best of one. Literally anything could happen in a best of one. I could win a title in a best of one, which I already have, but that's not the point. But still, like I think this is the season, and this isn't to disparage Rush or what they've done and how dominant that they've been. But oh, Ruby's also in the chat apparently because they love the sound of their own name. We beat them in regular season two.
They did.
Terrific. So they've improved my
Game
point
3,
even
yeah.
more. So in a 3-game series, they've beaten them. In a best of one, they've beaten them. You know what that adds up to? 3 plus 1 is 4. 4-1. That doesn't make sense. You know what I'm trying to say. I think Ruby's going to be the team to finally dethrone Rush. It's still going to be Rush and Ruby, but I'm taking Ruby 3-2.
Okay. All right. Up next, we're going to talk about GSG, the last team that has locked in playoffs in Hextech. So CB Rush, CB Ruby, and GSG Sigma have all locked in playoffs in week 7. So congrats to them. They're just going to be fighting and vying for position, especially with the upcoming GSG Sigma and CB Ruby game that we'll talk about later. But GSG Sigma, pretty much everyone has put them in third. Fury,
Mhm.
what are your thoughts on
Yeah,
this team heading into week 7?
I just think they're a really solid team. My only issue is I think their weaknesses can be exposed a little bit better than most other teams, despite still being up there as a very solid top team. So I've got them above the rest, but I still think, like I said, Rush and Ruby in the end. So I'll keep them below them.
Okay, fair. All right. Understandable. Up next in the standings is when it starts to get a little interesting, right? We have Dragonclaw Cloud coming in at 3 and
Mhm.
3, Absolute Esports 3 and 3, Revolution Ice Age 2 and 4, and Titan Gaming Violet 2 and 4. All these teams still fighting for a playoff spot as of right now. Obviously, the lower you are, 6th and 7th seed, this is going to be a little more difficult, seeing as they need some help from Dragonclaw Cloud and Absolute Esports to lose. So, talk about the matchups in just a minute, though. But up next, Dragonclaw Cloud, Mr. Lean. They're in 4th place in the standings right now. Put them in 5th. So, walk me through as to why you feel this is their final seeding 7.
I'll admit I've actually seen a matchup with Dragonclaw Cloud and one of Absolute Esports' games as well, so I'm basing it off of that a little bit. I
Mm-hmm.
thought that Absolute played macro a little bit cleaner. Dragonclaw seemed like they made too many mistakes and were kind of prone to making unforced errors on their own. Getting 2v2 bot lane. In a farm lane, and they're overall slow to like either to respond to dragon calls that a jungler appears to be making, or if there's a Baron play to be had and the other team's on it, they seem to be a little slow to kind of get out the gate to that too. From what I've seen of Absolute, I don't necessarily see those problems. Obviously, there's a little bit of a standing diff because Dragon Claw's 8-8 and Absolute's 8-9. But I do think that Absolute's going to show enough tonight, get themselves into playoffs and
Okay.
at that 4th spot, and overtake them in the standings.
All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. In 5th place right now, the last seed as of right now heading into playoffs, it is Absolute Esports 3 and 3, 8 and 9 game score with 23 points, 1 point above Revolution Ice Age. Fury, you have them above, or my apologies, below Dragonclaw. And kind of give me the rundown as to your selection in your power
So it'll
rankings.
go kind of hand in hand with my predictions tonight. I think Absolute loses to CB
Yeah,
tonight.
yeah,
They go against CB
that's
Ruby.
fair.
Oh, sorry, CB Rush.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a little fair on that end. But on the other hand of that, I do have Dragon Claw winning.
Okay.
So that's what keeps Absolute below them. And then
Mm-hmm.
Revolution just below them as well.
Yeah, fair. And let's talk about the next team. It is Revolution Ice Age coming in at 2-4, 6-8. 22 points, just outside of that bubble for playoffs, trying to fight their way in week 7. Their fate's going to be in their own hands as they are taking on Dragonclaw Cloud. They need a little bit of help because they do need to jump at least one team there. So the odds are kind of in their favor right now if they will win this best of 3. But it looks like both of you have put them outside of playoffs. So, Mr. Lean, walk me through the unfortunate finish for Revolution Ice Age in your power rankings.
Yeah. I believe it was actually put best in Trash Talk. And this is absolutely horrible to say,
Oh
but it was
boy.
pointed out that their top laner doesn't know how to play the game if he can't split push, which I really think kind of hits the issue right on the head. Revolution's issue is they're very uniform to one particular style of play, and it's a really exploitable style of play too. It's something they can easily counter by just forcing 4v5s all the time, while Yorick or whomever whole breaker top laner they choose to whip out at any point in time is just a PvEing in whatever lane he's split pushing in. It's a really exploitable style. They don't really show any way to adapt from it, and it's shown in their games. There's a reason they're 6-8 and 2 and over games and 2-4 right now. Unless absolutely everything goes right and suddenly God comes down, pays my car payment, abolishes the IRS and a bunch of other stuff, Revolution isn't getting in the playoffs.
Okay, fair enough. In 7th place, it is Titan Gaming Violet 2-4, 5-10 at 17 points with a bye this week.
Yeah.
You see a world in which they make it into
They
playoffs
get a bye,
here.
and that's what gets them in the
Yeah, I mean, hey, you never know.
No.
They need some help. I think
No,
there's a slight
shot.
chance they have a tiebreaker to make it in.
It would be a tiebreaker with Absolute, I believe.
I believe, yeah.
If that tiebreaker gets triggered, I'm buying a lottery ticket.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I've seen crazy things happen. We'll see. You never know. With that, though, let's actually take a look now at the matchups for the evening. Starting off in Infernal, it is Collective Sigma in 8th place, taking a Blue Esports Fire. Now, everyone has selected Blue Esports Fire, except for
Here
one
we go.
sole individual
It's the
who have
back-to-back.
selected Collective Sigma to win in this best of 3.
Can I just say, GSG Sigma and Collective Sigma really need to get different
Yeah, they gotta.
orientations.
I think
You know
GSU is there first. I don't know. They gotta talk about that.
I think Collective Sigma is a great. No, I'm kidding. I'm
Oh,
kidding. I'm
jeez,
kidding.
oh, Yeah, so Sigma and Blue Esports Fire, you went with Collective Sigma, though. The only person. So why do they win, and what is your final game score here?
They win because I say so. And the final game score, I think it's still gonna be a 2-1. But I like rooting. I just like rooting for the underdog. And like I said, Collective Sigma technically only one game behind. They're not
it's close.
Far down. Just because it's a 5th to 8th. That 5th to 8th is
It
one
means
game
nothing.
difference.
Yeah,
It means literally nothing.
Third,
it's just,
third to 8th is a
one
series difference. Is really all it is. Okay, fair enough. Up next, it is TA Spectre taking on Cloud Team. TA Spectre 3-3, Cloud Team 2-4. So it's still close between these two teams. I believe it's actually 2 games for TA Spectre is the difference between 3rd and 7th right now. Everyone has selected TA Spectre nonetheless, though. So, Mr. Lean, what are your thoughts on this best of 3, and what is your final score?
Team and logo and name diff. 2-0.
2-0. Okay. All right. Up next, Titan Gaming Obsidian and ISU Genie Emerald battle it out for a potential playoff spot. Titan in 4th at the moment, ISU in 6th. So Titan trying to hold on to a Week 7 playoff berth, and ISU trying to play spoiler as they look to upset Titan and make it into playoffs themselves. This one's a little bit more split fury, though. You have selected ISU Genie Emerald. Win in this best of 3. Give me the rundown.
So it's just kind of the same situation with Collective and Blue Esports. Still only really one game off. TA Spectre ahead, only 3 points between third and sixth. Titan, I'm sorry, 2 points between fourth and sixth.
Hmm.
Three. Um, so it's not a very far gap at all. And because I have Esports Fire losing, and then I have Titan Gaming losing,
Hmm.
that's why I have ISU up in fourth.
Okay, fair. All right, up next, it is Undying Tyrants taking on Lancer Esports, number 1 and number 2 seed. Both teams
I'm so
looking
glad I changed my guess.
looking for the number 1 seed. Mr. Lean, you're the only one to select Lancer Esports in this best of 3 for the first place seed in Infernal. Give me your thoughts here.
You know what? I really like Lancers Esports. Personality issues aside, they've been a really consistent team, and they are really well coached. You don't really see them making. It's funny that I'm about to praise their discipline in the game, especially when out of game. It's been a little sus, but no, they're a very well disciplined team in game. They have great macro. They appear to have a really good support staff behind them, so I really feel like they could make an upset. They could do something here. That being said, still 2-1. It's going to be a very close series if it does go in Lancer's favor. But being honest, I'm okay with being the one black sheep if Undying actually happens to win.
All right, fair enough. Let's talk about Hextech, CB Rush, number 1 seed, trying to lock in that number 1 seed heading into playoffs, up against Absolute Esports, sitting in 5th place, trying desperately to hold on to their playoff seeding and not get eliminated. Everyone has selected
Hmm.
CB Rush. Fury, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I just think CB Rush and CB Ruby are the two teams to beat. I don't see their opponents taking them out. It comes down to which CB team is going to take out the other CB team. Uh, yeah, it's unfortunate seeding for Cloud in this
Mm-hmm.
situation, or for Absolute. Sorry.
Yeah, fair, fair. Up next, it is number 2 CB Ruby, who could potentially jump CB Rush if they lose, up against number 3 GSG Sigma, though. But GSG Sigma looking to try and potentially take second in this series. I mean, it could be close as either
I think it's
way.
gonna be close.
Mr. Lean, though, as with everyone else, you have also selected CB Ruby. How close of a game is this? Is there a world or a way in which GSG Sigma can walk away with the win against CB Ruby and potentially the second seed in Hextech?
I'm gonna be honest, not really a whole lot. It's not disparaging Sigma, or I'm sorry, GSG Sigma, since I apparently
Mm-hmm.
need to clarify the distinction between
Hmm.
the two. But no, it's kind of hard for me to say that they do have a chance. I think this is a 2-0 CB like all the way. Fortunately, you may not see too much unless something crazy happens and Absolute manages to gap CB Rush in like a 2-1 series.
Okay.
It's Rush number 1, Ruby number 2. Both of them are going to tonight.
Okay, fair enough. And the last matchup we're going to talk about, it is Revolution Ice Age up against Dragonclaw Cloud.
Hmm.
Cloud sitting in 4th, Ice Age in 6th. So this is a pretty important series for both of these teams, as this could determine a playoff. One of these teams making playoffs and one of these teams being eliminated from playoffs. As we know, Titan Gaming Violet could potentially jump up as well with the 2-0 that they have at the end of the season, with Absolute Esports taking on CB Rush. So this is a very important game for playoffs here. And it looks like everyone has selected Dragonclaw Cloud Fury for the last match of Platinum Season 7. Take it away.
So Revolution, I just don't think they had a great look this split. The couple games they do have, congrats to them, but it wasn't spectacular. All either 2-0s or 2-1s. But Dragonclaw Cloud, they've looked. I mean, it's been even the entire way through. They're what 3-3. I think they're 8-8 on games, compared to Rev's 6-8. I just don't think tonight's the night that Revolution come out and get a 2-0.
Okay. Fair enough. Before we wrap it up, anything either of you would like to say to all of our competitors this season?
And lean.
Be kind.
I would wait for you. I didn't want to jump in front.
Okay.
Yeah, no, just congrats to everyone that's gonna make it tonight, and then thank you to everybody who doesn't. Even if you don't, hopefully stick around and you know either go for the team that you want to win that isn't yourself, or if anything, just sit and trash talk.
All right, fair enough. We're going to throw to a quick break. And when we are back, the final week of Platinum League Season 7 on Stream 1, it is Undying Tyrants taking on Lancers Esports as they fight for that first place seed. And on Stream 2, Revolution Ice Age take on Dragonclaw Cloud as both of those teams fight for a playoff spot. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back.